Hey everybody, in this video we will talk about how to choose an ayahuasca retreat. There are several things to consider when deciding where you're going to connect with the medicine. First of all, and most importantly, what is the tradition that the person giving the medicine comes from? Who gave them permission? How long has their training been? To find that out, of course, you can do your research, but most importantly, phone up the retreat. Speak to the people that will be with you in this very intimate moment. Ask them whatever question you might think of, starting with what is the tradition, who will be giving the medicine, how long have they been in training, who gave them permission to share this medicine, because in the indigenous tradition, an elder bestows you with the honor, or gives you the permission to share a medicine, and then it's a very big responsibility on the part of the elder, because should then his student do something not so very good, then it's the elder's responsibility. So when you speak to them, ask them about this, but also just ask him any questions you might want, just to get a feel of like what kind of person or what kind of people am I going to be doing this work with. Another thing to look into is what is the size of the retreat. It's very different to do a ceremony with 10 people to do a ceremony with 60 people or 100 people. While both can be good, you need to have a clear understanding where you are on your journey and what would resonate. A ceremony of smaller size, it might open the opportunity to have time to hear everyone's story, connect with other people's experience and learn from them. And oftentimes in the retreats and ceremonies that are organized, many people say, I learned a lot from this person's experience, or during the ceremony I felt very connected in this moment with this other person. So we're all connected, and then we all learn from each other. So choosing a retreat of a small group would give you the opportunity to connect with others. Up to 15, 20 people is about the limit of a small group where you have deep intimacy. Now, going to a retreat or a ceremony with more participants, I feel like there are things to consider when it comes to that. And most importantly, what is the tradition? Like what is the design of the ceremony? How does the ceremony occur? What's the sequence of events? For example, if you go to a ceremony where you take the medicine and then you take your seat and then you go through your own process, and once you're done with it, then that's it. Perhaps being around 50, 60, 70 people in a non-coordinated ceremony, I would say might be distracting, might be confusing. And at the same time, if you go to a ceremony, for example, with the Santo Daime Church or certain communities here in Colombia, and I'm sure that there are other communities around the Amazon who also have organized set of events that occur in a ceremony, it could actually be very beautiful. Because imagine 50, 60, 100 people singing together or praying together. Imagine how powerful that is energetically. So you really need to check in with yourself to see what is a tradition that resonates with me, what kind of work I want to do, and then make that decision in terms of the size. One more thing to consider when choosing a retreat is the comfort level. What are the facilities? And this is again a very personal preference. There are people who would be super happy and very comfortable in a wooden cabin in the middle of the jungle with no electricity, and that's more than enough. There are other people who would feel more comfortable in a beautiful finca or a beautiful country house with a big pool, with nice garden. So make your own decision. Be mindful, however, that the idea of going to participate in a sacred medicine ceremony is really about confronting discomfort and really stepping into discomfort. So check in with yourself what would be okay with you, but I would say this is not the most important consideration. There are much more other important ones than that. Something to also be mindful of, and something that would show you that the retreat or facilitator that you're working with is really someone who's has your best interest in mind, would be certain questions related to health history, medical history. So do they have a health questionnaire as part of their intake process? I would say it would be a red flag if they don't. So if someone say, "Hi, I want to come to your retreat," great, how much is it? Like $1,000 or $2,000 or $500, however it might be. Great, here's the payment link. Looking forward to having you join. No, no. Are you drinking any prescription medication? Is there a history of mental disease in your family? Have you recently had a surgery? For some places, for female participants, you need to check, depending on the tradition, you need to check if they will be having their monthly menstrual cycle at the time of the retreat. These are all very simple questions, but then they say a lot about the place you'll be going to. I would say not having such a process is a red flag. Another thing which is very important is to be mindful of the retreat organization or group of people. Like, what is do they have some kind of a policy where they give back to the indigenous community from whose lineage the medicine man comes from, the medicine comes from? There is this concept of aini, or reciprocity, in indigenous communities, and especially as Westerners, as non-indigenous people, I think it's very, very important to put an amount, as small or as big as it might be, to support the elders, support the indigenous communities. Wherever in the world you might be, wherever in the world, in Asia, in Europe, if you're drinking ayahuasca, you owe this to some elder who taught someone, who taught someone, who taught someone, who taught the person who's giving you the medicine, if you're not working directly with the elder. So it all follows down to an elder. And continuing to support this work, to continue to give access to this type of healing to many people, well, the key is to support the elders, who are really the guardians and safekeepers of these traditions. So have a look and ask them, like, what's their relationship? Are they doing it only to make a lot of money, or are they doing it, maybe they're making a lot of money, but then they're also putting aside of it to create prosperity for the indigenous people that are they're making this whole experience possible for us. Something that I hear a lot about in this medicine community is the importance of being humble, especially as someone who's sharing medicine or as a facilitator. So what happens is, like, in the role of a medicine man, medicine woman, a facilitator, you end up accompanying people through very life transformational processes, and you're there all throughout. And then oftentimes, especially for people who are new to this world, they see you as this all-knowing being, and like this person who takes them into a deeper knowing of themselves, who's a holder of secrets, spiritual secrets, who's sharing with them. And it's very easy to start believing yourself that you are that guy or you are that woman who has all the answers, who is infallible, or who deserves to be treated as more special than anyone else. And the truth is that the biggest leaders, and a very strong value that is really appreciated in indigenous communities, is being humble, humility. Even if you're the best musician in the world, the most knowledgeable medicine man, something that will communicate you're a good leader and a trustworthy person is to be humble, to understand that, well, you have reached a very high level in your area of expertise, but then that's not the limit. This growth is infinite. And people who are really true spiritual masters and teachers, They're always very humble. They would never talk to you from a position of, I know, you don't know, hence you should listen to me. They would always talk to you as an equal, and they would always remind you that the most powerful medicine is your will. It's not ayahuasca, it's not San Pedro, it's not temazcal, it's not mushrooms, it's not anything but your will. That's the most powerful medicine, and this is what they'll help us to reconnect with. So should you notice someone who maybe has a bit of an inflated ego or speaks from this, you know, like position of an all-knowing being and having everything figured out and just giving you direction in life, and they know better than you, very big red flag, and I personally would stay as far away as possible from that retreat. Those are a few of my tips on how to choose an ayahuasca retreat. In the next video, we'll talk about why you need an intention when you drink ayahuasca. Thank you for watching this video. We'd love to hear from you, your comments. If you have any questions, please let us know in the section below. And if you've enjoyed this video, it would be great if you like and subscribe.